In this new update, Riot decided to make ADCs the most broken role with Shieldbow. Shieldbow, Phantom Dance changes, ADCs have become broken. Kai'Sa got a rework, she becomes even stronger. Champions like Tristana run you down. Essence Reaver on Lucian and Corki are so strong as well. So yeah, ADCs are absolutely broken in my opinion right now. Hey, what's up guys, Darkbreaker here and welcome to my tier list. In today's video we have a huge brand new updated tier list for you guys, and I hope you guys will enjoy this video. There are so many changes. This has been one of the biggest changes, so I'm really interested about what's your opinion about the patch, what you guys like about the patch, what you guys don't like. We have so many changes, we have new items, we have system changes, we have the Ice Dragon, obviously balance changes, and especially ADC meta right now. We have the ADC meta with the we have the new broken Shieldbow item, which is absolutely cracked. Then we have Phantom Dancer updated, which is gonna make so many hyper carries way stronger. We have Collector now for champions like Jhin that have been needing another core item. Essence Reaver got updated, Manamune, Nashors Tooth, so many updates. And especially for crit-based champions, besides ADCs, we have Yone, we have Rengar, Yasuo, Tryndamere, etc. So many changes. Hope you guys are interested about what are the best champions in this new patch right now, because I'm gonna explain to you guys in depth all the changes for Baron lane, for jungle, for ADC, for mid lane and support. And I think you guys are most interested about the ADC changes. Obviously, I've made a video covering the item changes already, and I've also made a video about reacting to the patch notes, explaining everything in depth. So you can guys, you guys can check out both videos, and definitely make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy this video and you guys appreciate the fact that I've been updating you guys all the time with my tier list, so you guys know my subjective personal opinion about what I think is good in the meta. You can trust a challenger player that has been challenger and legend, challenger every season and rank 1 legend in the past. I think you can trust me in this case. But yeah, I hope you guys will enjoy this. I think it's gonna be a very long video. There will be timestamps for you guys. Enough talking, let's get started, huh? Oh yeah, by the way, we have the new champion Swain as well. So Swain, in my opinion, we will talk about him, but Swain has been a very strong pick. I've made a video for Swain Baron lane as well. Check it out. Plus 5000 HP Swain clickbait. Check it out as well. And remember, activate the bell, because every day, when this video is coming out on Saturday, right, there will be 2 more videos. On Sunday, also 3 videos, and then any other day probably like 2 videos, because we are gonna grind and we are gonna milk and clickbait the shit out of it. So don't mind me writing broken, because if I write Vayne gameplay number 1 or Vayne gameplay number 5 best build, people will not click on it. But if I write, oh, Vayne broken as fuck, then little Timmy, 15 years old, he's like, damn boy, I will click on it. And otherwise you guys will not click on it. I know my audience. Actually, my audience is like, if the statistics are correct, they are mostly like 18 plus, so I know your mindset. Okay, let's get started. So for the Baron lane, what are the biggest changes? We have a buff for Renekton, that his second ability, when he has Rage, removes the shield completely. And otherwise Swain got added, and then we have new items. But besides that, I think the Baron lane meta stays kind of the same previously as beforehand. Not any major changes, not any major items that are gonna shift the meta completely. But I guess you can say Malphite is gonna be better if ADCs are gonna get stronger, then Malphite is gonna get better, obviously. But yeah, first champion is gonna be Aatrox. Aatrox, in my opinion, still one of the most broken champions. High crowd control, tons of damage, tons of sustain. He is just so good. In the laning phase, he's really good. In team fights, he's also really good. Akali has been one of the best assassins for ages. She has insane assassination potential, especially in team fights. So in my opinion, she is still very strong, especially in the Baron lane and in the right hands. If you're snowballing 1v1 and then you can move that snowball on the other side of them at the dragon and get even more kills, Akali can be very good. By the way, for you guys wondering, this is not in order. Like, I mean, this is like A to Z, right? So I just added them A to Z mostly, and then I moved. Sometimes I was looking, what to add, and then I put them up. So there's no order, for you guys wondering. Just the champion within the same rank. Now Garen Heartbreaker, I'm a Garen Heartbreaker pioneer. Some people call me the backdoor king. Garen Baron lane with Heartbreaker, so easy to play, so tanky, so strong, very beginner friendly. If you guys want to learn one of the strongest Baron laners that is easy to play, then I recommend you guys Garen and Wukong. Pretty easy to play, very strong value wise in team fights, also push wise, or 1v1, super tanky, tons of damage. Now Camille. I would say if you want to play Camille, you need to master this champion. Very hard to play. I think for beginners, she is definitely not beginner friendly. Even after they made her more beginner friendly, she is, in my opinion, still not that beginner friendly. She has true damage, she has high mobility, she has the ultimate that can catch people, great duelist, great split push, and in team fights obviously with the ultimate, very good against ADCs. ADC meta, Camille with the ultimate can be very good against ADCs. Next one is gonna be Gwen. Gwen is a late game hyper carry monster with true damage and insane amount of sustain. Very strong pick, especially against tanks. She is like the tank killer #1, and her ultimate is very good to just one shot or burst through the ADCs in the backline as well. So in general, Gwen a very strong and broken pick in my opinion. Next one, Gragas. I've seen like Gragas Ice Dragon getting hyped a little bit with a blue build, probably blue tank build, just 0 cooldown, 3rd ability. Maybe I will do another Gragas Ice Dragon video hopefully soon. Ice Dragon kind of rare sometimes. But yeah, Gragas tank, very good utility wise, or Gragas AP, just one-shotting people left and right. Overall, very solid in the lane. Now let's move on to Jax, one of the strongest split pushers, very unstoppable in the late game. If you guys know how to split push, I've made multiple videos about how to split push, or you check out the videos when I've been playing Jax. Jax has been a menace. Once you have Heartbreaker, 3 items, late game scaling, they need 2 or 3 people to stop you, and if no one is in the lane anymore, you just get the base completely. They added the Nexus shield though, so backdooring is going to be a little bit harder, because the Nexus shield, beforehand the Nexus had 4k HP, and now it's 3.5, but if you kill the inhibitor turret, then the Nexus gets a shield for, I don't know, 20 seconds, double the amount of HP, so it's 7000 HP when you wanna backdoor the first time when you kill the tier 3 turret, making backdooring way harder. Not a fan of it. Jace got buffed with the Manamune. He will do way more damage right now, like way more poking damage. Also minion aggro wise, they changed the minion aggro, so freezing and zoning is more rewarding right now, because the minion aggro drops quicker and you take less damage when you're zoning freezing. But I know my viewers don't even know that concept. You can check out my wave management guides. But I know even grandmasters and challengers, a lot of people don't really use that concept. They don't use wave management, freezing, zoning, etc. They don't really use that. And if you guys want to step up, be a better player, in general, wave management, very important. How to freeze the lane, when to push in, etc. Or how to zone the opponent off from experience and gold. Very important. People don't really do that. Most people don't do that. They don't even look at the wards, by the way. But yeah. Very important. Jason's getting stronger thanks to the Manamune changes and the minion aggro changes, in my opinion. Laning phase wise, making him way stronger. Overall, Jace 1v1, super strong, one of the most dominant early game phases. Very strong poking damage in the early mid game. Kind of falls off in the super late game, I would say. But I think the Manamune changes definitely make his poking damage way stronger. So Renekton has been an all-rounder, I would say. Strong in teamfight, strong in the early game, strong in the 1 versus 1. Now he's a great counter against shield compositions because he just removes shields completely. So he's probably the best pick against Riven as well. Has been a good counter against Riven, now even better. Second ability, when you have rage, you just remove any shield completely. So Janna, protect, enchant, shield with Kai'Sa shield, has like a billion shield. Renekton W, boom, it's gone. So very, very strong. Wukong, the sustained CC king. With Divine Thunderer Grasp, he has so much sustain. One of the strongest laners in terms of like sustain wise. Plus his ultimate in teamfights is absolutely cracked. Let's move on to Shen. Shen has been a pretty good teamfight orientated champion with his ultimate and his taunt. Global ultimate to join teamfight and create some pressure on the map. Overall though, his early mid game is fine, but he kind of falls off in the late game against like Hullbreaker, Thunder champions. So don't be mindful when you're picking Shen against split pushers, because if you're not snowballing hard enough and you're using ultimate, Jax will take 2 turrets for it, for example. But overall Shen pretty solid. Riven overall pretty solid pick, high mobility, high burst damage. Swain, the new champion Swain. I've played him a few times right now. I've played him on support, I've played him on mid lane and on Baron lane. I have to say, I'm surprised how, like, my first game in Baron lane was against a challenger Aurelia. And it just shows me Swain is a very safe pick. His auto attacks are so good to harass the opponents. He can build super tanky as well. So he has good crowd control, he has tanky, he has good wave clear. Overall, very solid pick in my opinion. Whether you go full AP, you go hybrid, or you go full tank, it's up to you. Next one, Darius. Darius is overall a tanky juggernaut. Great carry potential against melee team compositions. I'm not putting him S+ because there are a lot of team compositions where he will struggle to play. If they have like high mobility or high crowd control, Darius will get kited super hard. But if Darius plays against melee champions or against tanky champions, his Noxus Might, his true damage, and his healing are very good in team fights. Dr. Mundo, overall a very tanky champion with a lot of sustain. Overall very solid in the laning phase, can become a very good meat shield in team fights. Fiora, a high skill duelist, a split push queen, but pretty weak in team fights unless you're super snowballing and you're super ahead. A very high skill ceiling in my opinion. I feel like making her work is not as easy. What is this? Okay, making her work is not that easy. That's why I'm playing, putting her S tier. Next one is gonna be Zed. Zed is a great teamfight based champion. I think the problem is that he might get kited a few times. What is it? It's like a fly or something. FF angle. Fly annoying me. Yeah, kind of similar problem like Darius. He's more teamfight orientated, I would say, with his crowd control and his tankiness and the shield and the true damage. Good playmaking potential, definitely. Now Malphite. Malphite is a strong teamfight orientated tank. He can hold the lane pretty well against physical damage laners. Kinda gets outscaled similar to Shen against like strong split pushers that has true damage. So Gwen is very good against him. Jax in the late game, Camille for example. These champions just outscale Malphite, so he will have a problem laning or holding the lane against them. But overall in teamfights, obviously his ultimate is very good and he's a great counter against physical damage compositions. The next one is gonna be Mr. Sion himself. Whether you're running it down with bow strategy, lethality, or you're playing Hullbreaker split push, or you're playing a teamfight orientated build, Sion has all kind of playstyles. He can hold the lane pretty well. He becomes a tanky monster, has good utility and crowd control. Yone has become really strong with the addition of Shieldbow and the Phantom Dance changes. In my opinion, Yone is so strong. I'm not putting him broken in Baron lane because I feel like he has a bunch of hard matchups in comparison to like mid lane or jungle where he's like so strong right now. Yone is kind of permabanned right now, has been with the new patch so strong. The itemization just makes him way better than before, and because he has way more sustain. Yeah, he just has way more sustain. It's just way harder to kill him. Overall, he's one of the strongest late game champions with the crit damage and his mobility and the playmaking potential he has with the ultimate and with the third knockup. Now we have Diana. Diana, overall solid laner, great in team fights. Akshan, one of the strongest laners, is a strong lane bully that can punish melee champions, but obviously he's a squishy target, so he will or might get ganked and camped, and then he can't do that much. Graves with the Shieldbow, definitely strong, but he's very, very scaling in my opinion. Needs a lot of gold to come online and be useful. I would say like 3 items, that's when he starts to get strong. So takes a lot of time for Graves to be good. Urgot, in my opinion, good utility in team fights, overall a tanky pick that can hold the lane pretty well and is strong in the early game to snowball or like cheese people. Aurelia, high skill ceiling, has a lot of bad matchups in the Baron lane, but if you know the matchups, you can definitely play her out. Has great snowball potential and has a lot of sustain and burst damage. Jarvan, Baron lane, overall a pretty solid pick, very strong in the early game and great utility in team fights. Kind of gets outscaled though in the mid-late game. Cannon, strong in the early game, great in team fights, gets outscaled in the late game. Against one vs one, he can't hold lanes against a lot of champions later on. Olaf, yes, Olaf got reworked, but I don't think the changes are gonna benefit Baron lane Olaf that much, because he's too coin flippy, too snowbally. Either you're killing someone before level 5, you're cheesing him, then yeah, he will become really good, or you don't and you become useless. Most of the times, Olaf players tend to become useless in the Baron lane. I think against tanky or melee champions he can do fine, but there are a lot of bad matchups for him. Pantheon, early game snowball reliant champion. He can become a super strong snowballing champion, but he can also be a flop and become super useless. Either way, even if you get ahead in the mid and late game, he will fall off, and that's the point when you start losing the game, even when you're doing really good. Teemo, cheesy early game monster that can become super good in the late game with Liandry and his ultimate trapping around. I think overall he's fine. In the mid game he kind of falls off a little bit, but then later on when he has his items, with the shrooms, where he can spam shrooms all over the map, he becomes really, really good. And obviously early game he's like a nightmare to lane against, but he's squishy and easy to punish, to be fair. Warwick, not a big fan of this champion. I think this champion is really not that good. Has some nice sustain gimmick, but in team fights he's really bad. In 1v1 he's also bad against a lot of champions. Lucian Vayne, same explanation as Akshan. Cheesy picks, cheesy counter picks, but they're easy to punish, to be fair. Nashors, one of the strongest late game champions, but in the early game he is pretty easy to punish and he's pretty weak, and he needs a lot of time to scale. He needs to keep stacking up, and the potential to, like, if your bot lane is inting, you can't really help them out because you're still focused on farming and stacking up and getting stronger, and you might struggle to even join because you're struggling in your own lane. So that's a big problem about Nashors, in my opinion. Nautilus, overall a solid tanky pick with good utility. Singed, one of the strongest late game scaling champions, great utility, great pick potential and gank potential, but in the early game pretty weak. Tryndamere, he becomes a 1v1 late game split push crit monster, runs everyone down, but in the early game he's not that strong and he has a lot of bad matchups, plus kiting potential against high mobility or high crowd control team compositions is pretty high. Now let's move on to Kayle. Kayle, in my opinion, I was debating if I just write this here. Kayle tier. For Kayle tier we have Trash. Yeah, this champion Trash in the Baron lane. Not in the mid lane necessarily, but in the Baron lane, Kayle is definitely Trash. And if you guys think you're doing good on Kayle, I think most of the times you have shit stats and you get good teammates from the team maker because you have shit stats on Kayle, and then Riot system matchmaking is gonna give you good teammates. That's how a lot of times Kayle Baron lane players are working, because in the early game, you are insanely squishy and insanely weak. You're so easy to dive and punish, and it takes forever for Kayle to come online. 4 items, level 12 to 15. That's when Kayle comes kinda online, when she becomes strong. She needs level 15, and most of the time she needs like 4 or 5 items. So Kayle, in my opinion, too easy to punish and too weak in the Baron lane. Like, if you play this champion, the only reason you're winning is because you're getting boosted by the matchmaking giving you good teammates, literally. Because 99% of the times, a Kayle player in the Baron lane is an inter that gets good bot lane players or good jungle that boosts his ass. Believe me, believe me on this one, honestly. Let's move on to jungle. So for jungle, we have a few slight changes in my opinion, but you guys know the most broken champions, right? Didn't change this much. I think the only change I did is I put Yone up, because Yone with Shieldbow and Phantom Dancer, new Yone build or new Yone video incoming, is so strong. He is just so strong. He is, in the late game, one of the strongest champions in the game. He does amazing crit damage. He just one-shots people very easily in the backline because he has so much mobility and playmaking potential. A big fan of Yone, and Shieldbow definitely makes his early game better because it makes him more tanky or gives him more sustain and survivability. But yeah, Aatrox, in jungle, also one of the most broken champions. I already explained to you guys why. Then we have Riven, high mobility, burst damage, really good ganks, a really good snowball potential. Diana, one of my most played champions in or lately in the jungle. Just insane assassin that can hyper carry games and is godly in team fights, high mobility, high burst damage. Evelynn. Let's say Gragas first. Gragas, also AP hyper carry with insane playmaking potential, super strong. Then we have Evelynn, ganking machine that can snowball the game super hard and just one-shots people left and right. Great cheese potential with her invisibility, ganking left and right, especially in lower ranks. Evelynn is a nightmare. I think if you're good Evelynn in lower ranks, you win every game almost. Now we have Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix is an amazing assassin. Still super strong snowball reliance, ganking machine, can secure objectives very easily with isolation, and he just one-shots people very easily. Even against tanks he is good, by the way. People just need to play the macro and farming and focus on farming a lot on Kha'Zix as well. Lee Sin is a ganking machine with high jungle or high ganking pressure, tons of mobility, super hard to kill, and insane at snowballing the game from the jungle throughout the whole game or throughout the whole map. Olaf with the buff. He has a shield now. His ultimate against melee champions can last forever. He has more resistance during the ultimate as well. Overall, yeah, they adjusted Olaf, but Olaf became even stronger against melee champions. I guess against ranged champions you won't be able to keep up the ultimate as long as against melee champions, but you don't pick Olaf against you don't necessarily pick Olaf against super high mobility champions anyways. You pick him against melee champions or champions with high crowd control, because he can remove crowd control. He has true damage, he has tons of sustain, he has a shield right now, he can ignore crowd control. Very strong pick. Wukong is a sustain god. Really good gank pressure, really good gank angles and gank pressure, plus his ultimate in teamfight is insane, can knock everyone up. Shyvana is a late game 1vs9 hyper carry, just turbo power farming, focus on power farming, and then you just run everyone down. Ramos is a ganking machine against physical damage compositions. Ramos is like one of the best picks, so he's really good when they only have physical damage, because he can just stack up armor, and the more armor he has, the more damage he will do. Plus with the taunt, he can just, with a spin ball and the taunt, he has really good gank angles as well. Xin Zhao, overall a pretty solid pick, good damage, good crowd control, and good mobility, and is also tanky. Echo, in the early game kind of weak, but in the late game he's one of the strongest assassins in the game. Good playmaking and good one-shot potential. And then we have Vi. Very fast jungle clear speed, good ganking potential, is tanky, does good amount of damage. But it's she's not like the typical hyper carry in my opinion, because she's like more single target. And late game she definitely can carry a team fight on her own. Now we have Kayn. Blue Kayn getting better with the Manamune changes, doing way more damage, and Red Kayn obviously against tanky melee compositions can also be pretty good. Overall a very solid pick. High mobility, good damage or good sustain, depending on what form you're using. Fizz in the early game, maybe not the strongest, but once he has 3 items, he just one-shots people left and right. In my opinion, Fizz is like one of the strongest late game assassins in the game. Gwen in the jungle, kinda slow paced because her jungle clear speed is slow, but once she gets like 3-4 items, that's when she can hyper carry games on her own. She's very similar to Echo in that case. Now we have Jarvan. Whether you're running Jarvan lethality, Jarvan crit, or a bruiser, tanky Jarvan build, Jarvan is a ganking machine in the early game. He does a lot of damage, he is tanky, he has a lot of utility, and his ganks are so good in my opinion. Now we have Jace. Jace overall a super strong jungler, does a lot of damage, good poking damage, is in the early game super strong, and snowballs like a truck. Since we're talking about snowballs, let's get started with Nunu. He is a tanky utility CC monster that can spam gank the game and is overall good tank for the team. Nautilus, pretty much the same. Maybe not a ganking machine that can spam gank left and right, but he has a lot of crowd control and utility in team fights, and if you play him AP or hybrid, he will also do a lot of damage. Now we have Morgana. Morgana has insane jungle clear speed, she can farm pretty well, she has good poking damage, good utility in team fights with the ultimate as well, and she's more like a slow poking. You wanna take the team fight slow and just poke them out slowly and slowly, chunk them down with a Liandry W poke, and then once they're low enough you can just force fights, and she has good pick off with the bind obviously. Now we have Shen. Shen overall solid jungler, good utility with the ultimate, and has the taunt for gankings as well. Darius, I think I moved Darius down because there are so many comps where he might struggle, but I mean same explanation as in the Baron lane. Camille in the jungle, obviously the ultimate is great for ganks, but she's very slow paced in my opinion, so that's why I'm putting her 8 here. Fiora in the early game, great in skirmishes and great in fights to snowball, but overall her team fighting is very hard to execute correctly in the current meta. Now Aurelia, I also feel like Aurelia is so snowball reliant. Obviously high skill ceiling as well, and making her work and running people down is not that easy on Aurelia right now in this current meta. I think you really need to master her and you need to have the right team comp. I feel like if you don't have any frontline, playing Aurelia on your own is pretty hard to execute in team fights. Dr. Mundo, solid jungle clear speed, good frontline, and overall good meat shield for your teammates, and pray your ADC does a lot of damage for you, because you are the meat shield, but you are not necessarily the damage dealer. So that's why there's no way I'm putting ever like a tank. Like if I put a tank into S+, the tank needs to be insane damage wise, that he can just carry teamfight 1 vs 5 on his own. Renekton, overall solid pick, decent jungle clear speed, good ganks, tanky, good crowd control. Graves, kind of slow pace in the jungle, but once he has 3 items, with the new item in Shieldbow, he becomes so... I kind of want to call it tanky, but it's more like he has so much sustain that it becomes very hard to kill him with Shieldbow Bloodthirster. So much sustain with this. So 3 items, Graves, 4 items. He carries games so hard. Now let's move on to Pantheon. Pantheon himself. In the early game, he's a snowball machine, ganks left and right. but he falls off into the late game. Pyke is also a ganking machine, but his jungle clear speed is pretty bad, and he can't really farm too well now because they nerfed his jungle clear. But obviously he has good playmaking potential and good mobility for ganks. I was kind of thinking if I put Yasuo A tier, but I feel like Yasuo is very team comp reliant that you need knockups, and he's kind of slow paced in the early game. While Yone, yes, Yone is also slow paced, but not as slow paced, and he has way more options to go in on his own than a Yasuo, because he can always get back with a third ability. Like, his playmaking potential and his ganks are way easier to execute without allies. While Yasuo needs allies. Without good allies that enable his ultimate or be frontline for him, it's so hard to make him work. So I'm debating between A or B. Like, if you have like tanks that are engaging for you, like a Wukong or like a Rakan, then A tier. But without self-reliant, I think B tier. Urgot is either A or B as well, I wasn't sure. I mean, he has good playmaking potential, good ganks, he's tanky. Maybe A, I'm not sure. He's overall super fine, super solid pick. But he's not like a hyper carry. He doesn't have a bam bam bam, I'm killing everyone on my own. He needs allies. He's in like an enabler type of champion, similar to Nunu. Maybe A, maybe just A tier. Tryndamere. Dude, every time I play Tryndamere, I make him work, by the way. He's really not bad. Once you have 3 crit items, you just run people down. Even against CC comps, okay, against CC comps or high mobility, it's kind of hard to make him work. But it's still doable. Quicksilver Slash goes, you can still run on people. Especially with the new crit item, he becomes even better than beforehand. I mean, B is fine, B is good, B is solid. B is solid, C is average, A is good, S is really good, and S plus is wow, oh my god, better ban him. I mean, he's fine. He's fine. I think fine tier is B is fine for him. I mean, you can argue and put him A tier, but I mean, you can also just put him B tier. It doesn't really make a much difference, to be fair. You can definitely play him. Very strong late game scaling champion, obviously. Similar to Sinch. Sinch is like also scaling, kind of cheesy in the early game with the ganks, but you can definitely make him work. Let's move on to Singed. Singed, in my opinion, oh man, what mean Singed? Jax. Jax, early game, very slow jungle clear speeds, but like, let's say 3-4 items, Jax becomes so strong. Decent ganks, he just jumps in, has the third ability to stun, it's okay. Yeah, but pretty slow paced in the early game. Master Yi, kind of coin flip. Either you're God or Master Yi and you're just running everyone down, especially with the new item build, Master Yi super strong, or they have a lot of crowd control, or you don't have a tank to initiate for you, or you can come into for cleanup. Master Yi is super situational. Some games you can make him work, some games he's just bad. Kinda hit or miss, that's why I'm putting him B tier. Kayle, average, can definitely work in the jungle. You just focus on farming, and then, I mean, I think it's because in the jungle, it's the easiest for her to farm without getting punished super hard. Like, even if enemies are invading you, can definitely make her work still. Twitch, a super cheesy pick in the jungle, but you can definitely make him work. I've seen some challenger Twitches in the jungle, or AP Twitch or crit Twitch, making it work by cheesing people, by spam ganking. But also super easy to punish because he's so squishy. Same for Kshan, same explanation by the way. Swain, I think B. C? B. B. I think just B. Jungle clear speed in the early game, kinda slow. But he has good crowd control for ganks. And when he snowballs, he becomes really unkillable for the opponents. Yeah, I think B is fine. Jungle clear kinda slow. But he becomes super tanky, has good crowd control, and does a decent amount of damage, to be fair. Let's move on to mid lane. In the mid lane, we have Swain as plus tier. In my opinion, yeah, Swain, super strong. He is tanky, he has good wave clear, he does a lot of damage, he has good crowd control and playmaking. His second ability is so good poking wise, by the way. Like if you just run, yeah, Ryla's second ability, you slow people down and you can reveal them from miles away. He has so much HP, he becomes so tanky. Just such a strong pick, such a strong pick. Yone, I already explained it, broken. Ari, high mobility assassin with good playmaking potential thanks to her charm. Akali, already explained it, insane assassin in teamfights. Akshan, one of the strongest lane bullies in the game, great at snowballing from the mid lane, thanks to his second ability, just roaming left and right, ganking left and right, because you're always pushing in, you're always dominating the lane most of the times, so you're buying yourself time by pushing in the wave or winning the lane, and then you're ganking left and right. So Akshan very good in solo queue. Karma, poking utility monster, very good on teamfights. Zoe, poking nightmare, just poking nightmare. Insanely broken poking. I hate Zoe. If I had to ban, like I have a few champions I always ban, right? For supports, it's Yumi, Pyke, Lulu, always. For jungle, most of the times it's probably, what do I hate the most? Diana's pretty annoying, but I don't ban it. Gragas is very annoying. Kha'Zix, Lee Sin are super annoying to play against. Maybe Olaf, Yone, they are all annoying, man. Fuck. And mid lane, Swain, I feel like Swain is also so annoying. Yone, Swain, Akali's playable. Akshan is annoying, but I don't ban it. Karma, I ban Karma sometimes. Zoe, I ban Zoe. If I have to ban a mid lane, it's most of the time Zoe. If I play mid lane, I always ban Zoe. Zoe is so hard to deal with. Kassadin in the early game, I would say people consider him pretty weak, but I think he can farm up very safely. It's very hard for Kassadin to die in the early game. I think he's such a safe pick, and once you have 4 items, you win the game. 4 items Kassadin, high mobility, burst damage, silence, bam bam, nukes everyone. Katarina, 1 reset in a teamfight, magic. 1 reset, everyone is dead. It's kind of a meme by now, but I'm serious. She can be 0-5, she gets 1 reset, and she has a pentakill. This champion is stupid. Like, even if you're trash, you get 1 reset, you win the teamfight on your own. Because you're just dash and dash, 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 dash. Spin it. I hate her. Corki with Essence Reaver, Manamune becoming way stronger than before, great in teamfights, great poking damage, great crit damage, tons of damage, just bombing everyone. Ziggs, yeah, Ziggs is a great assassin with fear and good playmaking potential. High mobility as well with the ultimate, just also kind of reset mechanic, jumping left and right. A good Vex is so hard to deal with because he can always use the fear whenever you're trying to engage, to disengage, and then he can find the right angle with the ultimate to jump in, AoE fear everyone, activate stasis, and then the allies are coming in and then GG. Or he just flanks someone with the ultimate, boom, one-shotted. A good Vex is so strong, and if you guys think Vex is not that good, you haven't played against a good Vex, to be fair. Galio, great poking damage, good utility, tanky. I love Galio players. I love good Galio players in my team. I'm very happy when I have a Galio because good playmaking potential, tanky, good crowd control, etc. And I need more. I don't like to play tanks because tanks can carry 1 vs 9. So I do need a tank when I'm playing like a Diana, for example. So it would be nice to have like a Galio or more Rakan players or more Alistar players, like Giga Chats. Don't be an Enchanter player, be a Giga Chat. Pew pew pew, engaging support. Okay, Fizz in the early game weak, but insane assassin, I already explained it. Gregor overall super solid poking mage with playmaking potential. Aurelia a solid assassin with playmaking and snowball potential, high skill ceiling. Ziggs and Oriana are great utility based poking champions in team fights, doing tons of damage. Zed is an insane assassin, split pusher, just high skill ceiling. Like, you're winning a lot of lanes and then you can snowball and you can just pick off people with your ultimate and just one-shot them. Yasuo in the right team comp. I maybe should put him S. I mean, I think Yasuo, if you want to put him S plus tier, you need at least one person who can also knock up besides yourself, or you need like a tank. Not sure. Yasuo is pretty strong though. Fuck. In between, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. He could be S plus, he could be S. He's very strong with the new items, by the way. Like, Shieldbow makes him so good. Phantom Dancer is so good on him as well. If you have like a Rakano Alistar, it's S plus for sure. But if he's on his own, pulling that off is kind of hard, unless you have like a tank. But let's say you have like no tank. I think it's so hard for Yasuo to do this potential here. I say S. But he could be S plus as well. In the right hands, S plus. S or S plus. Not sure. Lucian, high mobility burst damage. Twisted Fate. You need to have brain. I mean, his gold card is great for catching potential. His ultimate is good to snowball left and right and catch people. Twisted Fate is more like for catching, trapping people. Good pick-off composition. Like if you have like Thrash, Camille, and Twisted Fate, great combo to just pick people one by one left and right. So you're always in the man advantage. Veigar, insane utility in teamfights with the cage, insane burst damage as well. Works the best if he has like two tanks. If he has like an Alistar and maybe a Garen top lane, works like a charm. That's so hard to kill him. So good in teamfights. Very weak in the early game though. Bad Roma in the early game as well, but good. Like, Horizon focus is obviously insane in teamfights when you have like frontline and you can set up like a front to back teamfight. Like, he's just sitting in the backline poking, setting up crowd control. And obviously his burst damage in the late game is nuts. Way better than a Nashors, way easier to play than Nashors. Annie, great catch potential. I would say Annie is in the early game pretty weak, bad Roma, but her teamfight can be good with a nice flash ultimate. Like flash tibbers, catching people off guard and one-shotting them. Definitely a solid pick. Echo in the early game pretty weak, but scales obviously. Aurelion Sol is also not the strongest in the early game, but has great roaming potential and insane teamfighting potential with a star collapsing in a teamfight or in a pit like Dragon Pit, Baron Pit, and everyone is getting stunned. A good Aurelion Sol is very annoying, but I don't think it's that easy to make Aurelion Sol work. Because his laning phase is definitely not that good and he struggles against some champions. Lilia, I'm not sure if I should put her even A tier. I don't think she's A tier even. Brands, because she's so scaling and her early game is so piss weak. She can't do anything. She needs 3 items and her early game is so piss weak. Nah, B tier. Brand, great poking damage, really good poking damage in teamfights. With the right team comp, Brand can be a super solid pick and works like a charm against tanky compositions because of Liandry, so much percentage damage. Pantheon, I already explained that, snowball reliant, but great cheesy pick. With the ultimate, he can gank left and right. Cannon, obviously very good in teamfights with his ultimate. Gwen is kind of similar. Gwen has kind of the similar problem. Gwen has kind of the similar problem. Oh, I forgot Garen. Where's Mr. Garen? Yeah, Garen S tier. Super solid tanky champion. He's really good against like Yasuo, Yone, Zed, melee champions, Diana, stuff like that, Katarina. I think Gwen B, she's too slow paced. She's melee champion and slow paced and very scaling. Echo has at least range and to farm up. Well, she is like melee. Situational pick. Lux, super solid poking champion. Good damage. Has the bind to catch people. Has shield. Has shield is really good in team fights. Morgana. I think Morgana utility and poking wise is pretty good in the mid and late game. In the early game, she is really not that good though. Like her wave play in the early game is pretty weak. Kayle. I think Kayle works in the mid lane decently because she has yeah, it's just way harder to kill her in the mid lane, to be fair, and she has more freedom to farm up, so I think she's okay. Seraphine is also okay in my opinion. I think she's pretty weak in the early game, and she's very easy to punish. Whoever says she is piss weak in the early game. She is piss weak in the early game. She's so easy to dive and punish. Let's say Fizz, Yone, Akali, Ahri, Akshan, Zoe, Kassadin, Zed, whoever else, everyone shits on her. Everyone, like if you get ganked, like Seraphine is one of the easiest champions to gank, by the way. It's like 1v1, she has so many bad matchups, and if you get ganked, like support ganks you or jungle ganks you, unplayable. Same for Sona. Yes, they have decent utility and they have the ultimate in teamfights, healing or shielding or whatever. That's fine. But they're still too weak, and they still need the right team comp. And 1v1 they suck. 1v1 they just suck. What can I say about these two champions? Teemo strong in the early game. A kind of cheesy guerrilla tactic pick where you're just coming from the invisibility. You're just poking people over and over, and you set up shrooms across the river. Definitely playable. And I already explained Lilia and Gwen. They are in the early game too weak into scaling. And they're melee champions in comparison to Echo. Echo's kind of melee too, but his versatility just makes it so much easier to farm from long range against a lot of champions. Like imagine you're playing Gwen against like Zoe or against Karma or Akshan or I don't know who else. Everyone just shits on you. You know, what am I supposed to say? Even like let's say Twisted Fate just harasses you pre-fight. You can't even farm up, you just get harassed the whole time. Same for Lilia. But yeah, let's move on to ADC. So, in this new update, Riot decided to make ADCs the most broken role with Shieldbow. Shieldbow, Phantom Dance changes, ADCs have become broken. Kai'Sa got a rework, she becomes even stronger. Champions like Tristana run you down. Essence Reaver on Lucian and Corki are so strong as well. So yeah, ADCs are absolutely broken in my opinion right now, and I don't know what they thought about the implementation of Shieldbow, because Shieldbow is so broken. But yeah, Kai'Sa, now she can just, like her itemization or her build path is way easier right now. Shieldbow, Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge, Lord Dominix, whatever you want. Super strong pick, tons of damage, insane shield, invisibility, blah, etc. Vayne, one of, probably in my opinion, the most broken ADC with a Lulu or Yuumi. You just run everyone down. You have, with Phantom Dancer, so much mobility right now. So she has true damage, she has her condemn to stun people, she has invisibility, she has permadash, Varus, insane poking god, Tristana, late game monster, late game hyper carry monster, especially with a Lulu. And now you have Shieldbow, gives you or makes you more tanky or gives you more sustain. Phantom Dancer, more attack speed and more movement speed. Samira with Shieldbow Bloodthirster, insane godly amount of sustain. The Katarina of ADCs, Corki, really good poking damage and insane in teamfights thanks to the package. Ezreal, high mobility poking monster still. Lucian with the new Essence Reaver doing way more damage, high mobility, burst damage. Dude, you know, I hate all the high mobility champions. So you have Vayne, Ezreal, Lucian, insane high mobility. Ezreal, late game poking monster. Corki, godly in team fights. Samira, godly in team fights. Vayne just runs everyone down after 3 items, runs everyone down. Kai'Sa, a super solid pick across every stage of the game. Tristana, early game decently strong, and late game got. Tristana, 3 items, very hard. 4 items with Lulu or Yuumi, unplayable. Caitlyn, a super solid pick, strong at every stage of the game, has insane range, super safe pick. Draven, a super strong early game champion. Snowball got. Remember when Doom used to spam Draven, a high skill ceiling though, and kinda lack of mobility. I guess with Phantom Dancer you will have more mobility right now, it's gonna make him better. Jinx is still in the early game not that strong in comparison to like a Tristana, but late game obviously with the new items. I mean, everyone has the new items, so since everyone has the new items, it doesn't change that much. Do you get it? Like, yeah, we have new items, but every ADC has new items now, or new item set. Oh, wait, I was about to put Jhin S tier, or not? I mean, Collector is pretty good, huh? Now Saya, super solid save ADC. Zeri, same like Jinx, weak in the early game, but late game monster with Lulu or Yumi. Jhin with Collector, so strong right now. Lethality, crit, just two-shotting people. In the late game he might fall off, that's a problem in comparison to other ADCs, but his early mid game and his snowball potential is really strong. I wouldn't put him S+ tier, but I think S tier is fine. Ashe. I just feel like as ADC she kind of lacks the damage in comparison to others, and she lacks mobility as well. Yeah, she has the arrow for playmaking. Oh, I think I forgot Ashe in support. Oh no, I didn't forget. Never mind. Now we have Karma, Orianna, Ziggs, Lux that are really solid poking mages. I'm not sure if I should put Twitch maybe as... yeah, really strong poking mages, but they fit better in competitive than in solo queue, and we have crit meta anyways. Then Twitch. I think Twitch is just too easy to punish in the early game. He's very weak in the early game, and it's hard to play him. Like, I feel like for the average dude, Twitch is pretty hard to execute correctly, and most Twitch players are inters because he's so weak in the early game. Yeah, in the late game he can become pretty strong, but I think his early game is just too weak. That's the problem, and he lacks mobility as well. Oh, oops. Misfortune's A tier. Yeah. Misfortune with crit build. I mean, you could run Manamune Essence Reaver, or you just run Shieldbow, Phantom Dancer, full crit. Early game pretty strong, mid game with the ultimate pretty strong, but late game she just falls off. And she's way easier to kill than other ADCs because of her lack of mobility. Like, she doesn't have dashing abilities, that's what I mean. So it's pretty easy to kill Misfortune, especially when she's using ultimate. If you find the right angle, you can just flank on her, because she can move, or she has to cancel ultimate then. Brand, Morgana are also poking APCs, but in this case they are just weaker, I would say, in the in general, or like outrange in comparison. Vega is just... I mean, I know it's some Vega APCs that make it work in like competitive, but I feel like in solo queue it just doesn't work out that well. I mean, it's viable, but I don't think it's that good. Twist of Fate ADC. I've seen some Twist of Fate ADCs, maybe with the new Nashors Tooth. Viable, has crowd control, kind of gets outranged though. And I don't think... It's like more like a cheesy pick that snowballed than more like a hyper carry in the late game. He's not the typical hyper carry. Same for Senna as ADC. I don't think Senna is like the... Senna is super scaling, but she doesn't do as much damage as other ADCs, because she's not the typical hyper carry ADC. She's more like a utility based ADC. Akshan pretty cheesy. Maybe with like an Alistair or like an hyper engager where you're like both engaging at the same time, but he gets outranged later on in team fights pretty hard by other ADCs. Now let's move on to support. Wait, why do I have Amumu here? I guess Amumu is here, okay. Or maybe here even. But I have Seraphine and Sona in B tier. I guess I put him here as well. But yeah, for supports we have Yuumi, Lulu, Pyke, and Karma in S+. It didn't change at all. Yuumi, Lulu, especially in this meta right now, with the even stronger ADCs. So what they did is, within the ADC tier list, the ADCs themselves didn't get, or it didn't change much, but the ADCs in comparison to the other roles, ADCs got stronger in my opinion, obviously with the crit items. But the tier list didn't change much, obviously. So Lulu, insane hyper carry enchanter, just boost the Vayne up and she just runs everyone down. Same for Yuumi. Just broken champions. Pyke, high mobility playmaking champion with the ultimate to just kill everyone and reset, true damage. Karma, high utility poking monster, insane ultimate in team fights. Galio, Gragas, Alistar, Nautilus, Thresh, Rakan are very good chat playmaking support, engaging playmaking supports. Everyone who's a chat playmaking support, you guys are the best. And if you guys are one of those, if you guys are maining one of those, write down below, I'm a chat engaging main, engaging support main. Galio, AoE taunt, global ultimate, Gragas dash, ultimate for playmaking, Alistar, AoE knockup, damage reduction ultimate, Nautilus, passive root, hook, third ability slows, ultimate, knockup, point and click, thresh hook and lantern, Rakan, knockup, AoE taunt. Nami is pretty good too. Good peeler, good playmaking with a bubble and ultimate. Jenna's shield is very good with protect enchantment, tornado for playmaking and disengage, ultimate for disengage. Braum shield, pretty good against poke, ultimate for playmaking, but kind of single target. Same for Leona, that has done a single target, and her ultimate is not as easy to land as like others, but obviously still solid playmaking tanks. I think for Senna, Soraka, and Ashe, under the right team compositions, they can be S tier or very good champions, but most of the times in solo queue, I think those champions are not working as well as they could be in comparison to competitive. Like a Senna that has like two tanks, or Soraka that has two tanks, like a tanky or bruiser in the jungle and a tank in the baron lane. Under these circumstances, these three champions are very good. Senna, tons of utility and poking damage. It's like a second carry. Soraka, tons of healing. But if you don't have any tanks, then Soraka is really not that good. Ashe, good playmaking with the ultimate to catch people, but you do need to have the tank. Lux is kind of the exception because she is like, even if you don't have a tank, you can play like a poking kite playstyle with the bind and the poke. So Lux, good damage, good poking, and good kiting. That if you have a Lux, you don't necessarily need a tank. If you have a tank, easier, but you don't necessarily need to. Swain as a support, good crowd control, pretty tanky, good playmaking with the third ability and the second ability. Snowball reliant. Like if you're snowballing, I think tank Swain or support Swain becomes unkillable. But if not, you might have a problem, kinda. But you can kind of play safe with third and second ability, to be fair. Morgana, pretty weak in the early game. I'm not a fan of Morgana support. I think her utility is fine, but I think other champions just do a way better job at what she's doing, and they're stronger than her in the early and even the mid game. But their ultimate obviously is good in team fights later on. Since very cheesy pick in the early game to catch people, Set in the right hand can be pretty good playmaking wise. With flash third ability, or in team fights he can become pretty tanky. Shen also kinda cheesy, but can have, he has the taunt for some playmaking, to be fair. Sona, Seraphine are pretty weak in the early game, but in the right team comp, they can be pretty good with their utility and playmaking with the ultimate. Brand with the right team comp can be good poking mage, but I think Lux is just better and safer in comparison. But I think Brand does more damage in a team fight than a Lux. Like, especially if they have like a lot of front lights or a lot of tanks. Amumu with the ultimate, definitely playable. Blitzcrank, pretty hit and miss, to be fair. Some Blitzcranks are good, some Blitzcranks are pretty bad. Hooks can be good if you land them onto vital targets, but most of the times Blitzcrank players are pretty bad, so I'd rather put them in C tier there so that I don't see as many Blitzcrank players. But yeah, that's about it for the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That took a lot of time. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Write down below your opinion in the comments. I see you guys next time, and bye bye.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.